Is your kindergartner to third grade child experiencing difficulty and struggling with school, and we're only a third of the way through the school year? Your child could be extremely bright, gifted even, and have a difficult time being successful in school. One of the reasons is that may learn differently. They might be that really creative right brain visual experiential learner. We call them visual spatial learners. They can either struggle for years if not given the right kind of tools to be able to help them learn successfully, or they can be successful in months. I'm Mira, and Mira and Mark Halpert were directors and founders of 3D Learner, a program that I started almost 30 years ago when my own kids were struggling. They had issues that were never really identified, and I found that they learned differently than the way they were being taught. A lot of times it's visual or even auditory processing issues that can truly impact reading, coordination, their athletics, their sports, their other kinds of outside abilities, but they are usually very creative, hands on learners. We have natural solutions to be able to help attention issues and self regulation issues. But what we're finding more than ever than before is that the pandemic actually had an effect on these kids, even though some of them, as kindergartners and first graders now, were really quite young. Things like working memory, processing speed, eye hand coordination, movement are challenges that are really common in these really bright right brain visual learners. They can also be quite significant and certainly not picked up by any teacher because the focus for teaching right now is the science of reading, which is awesome. I'm a certified dyslexia specialist. But the truth is, there are all these other issues that are being missed. And for these really bright kids who are struggling, it breaks my heart, but it also has got to be they're finding that we're more anxious. There are other issues that are coming up. We implore you to please call us. We'd love to be able to talk to you about how we might be able to help or what other kinds of issues might be going on and where to be able to have you look for some solutions. Right brain visual learners can face these challenges throughout their life. What we are truly focusing on is our kids from kindergarten to third grade so that we can build a solid foundation, so they can build resilience and grit, so that they can have these abilities to be able to handle all kinds of things throughout the rest of their life. We're only a phone call away. Call us 561 361 7495.
What we what we focus on is an approach called transformational strength-based parenting because we know these kids can be far more successful in a relatively short period of time. Somewhat different than traditional tutoring or learning centers or dyslexia programs. We're going to talk about addressing the whole kid, but with a primary focus on the kid's strengths. And then identifying and addressing his challenges. As Mira alluded to, they may have dyslexia, but they also may have visual processing, working memory, processing speed, or attention issues. And part of this starts with both rejecting the status quo, but setting bold goals to help your child be really successful by the time they get to fourth grade. And getting the help they need to help the whole child and being committed to these goals and open on the how.
Let's remember who these kids are. They're really whole to part learners. So the fact of being able, when we talk about setting goals, they need to see the big picture. So that's a few basic questions that we ask, and it's been almost like I said, 30 years, and parents are like, oh my goodness, yes. Does your child remember places visited from years ago? If the answer is yes, we hear this all the time. Oh, my child remembers where we took them when they were only 3 years old. That can happen. So does your child learn best when they see or experience information? That hands on movement kind of learning is truly embedded in how they learn best. And is your child actually smarter than their present reading comprehension level or any test scores would indicate? If the answer to any of these is yes, give us a call. There's a chance that your child is a visual right brain learner. One of the reasons, or the five reasons that why traditional interventions have failed, As Mark said, they focus on deficits, like what's wrong. And more than anything, they focus on behaviors. Having them look at sort of what's causing those is what's vitally important. And you may find if you're talking to your kids, they'll tell you what kinds of things are frustrating for them because their self-esteem, they are not choosing to not be successful. Or putting it the positive way, if given the choice, they'd love to be successful. And so much what we're finding is that their self-esteem is so compromised. Logical, sequential, and auditory approaches to teaching, which seems to be the most efficient. I'm standing in the front of a classroom and I can tell everybody what to do. But sometimes language and auditory processing issues can stand in the way of these kids, and they are very much like these kids pictured right here. Accommodate, but need to be, and we need to address to help these kids with executive function and visual processing issues. So much of what's going on in school is creating anxiety, and the kids' self-esteem is plummeting. Unfortunately, teachers' hands are full. That's just not something that they actually have time. They notice it, and kids' outbursts are happening more and more because they are so anxious and don't understand. But let's remember, they don't know what they don't know. So it's hard for them to be able to express what it is that they don't understand. And rarely so other approaches help parents be the coach and advocate that their child needs. We need to be able to make sure that you understand how your child learns, whether you learn like them or maybe you learn differently than they do. But understanding how your kids learn will help you be an amazing coach and support for them.
5 benefits of what we call the 3D learner approach is one, we start with goals that really represent transformational gains. So kids are often a year and a half, year and a half, and sometimes 2 years below grade level by the time they get to third grade. And the goal is often to get them back to grade level in a reasonably short period of time, and it can be accomplished. And one of the things that our assessment does is it both identifies strengths and areas and identifies where students excels, okay? And then we have an experiential learning approach that engages student and helps not only build reading fluency and reading comprehension, but works on their executive function, visual processing, and other skills. Building resilience and self-esteem are mission critical to us, as is helping you to be the coach and advocate your child needs. Now, sometimes we're asked what's possible. And we've had parents come to us where their kindergartner was struggling. They told they'd be in special ed forever. And by the time they got to first grade, they actually aced the end of year test because they all of a sudden had the skills to not only read, to understand what they were reading, but to process it properly. We've had first graders who were told they weren't going to go very far and wind up at places like Emory. And we've had second graders who were told third grade retention was a virtual certainty, and they wound up going to the 84th percentile by the time they're in third grade. And we had a third grader in private school whose parents were told to find another place because the school was too tough for him. And we actually helped him improve his reading comprehension 3 grade levels. And his teacher said he made more progress than any student she'd had in 27 years of teaching. So the key is for you as a parent to find the right help for your child. And if you have a child where this resonates with you, you see them, they learn differently, they have a lot of challenges, and you have that burning desire to help your child succeed, give us a call at 561-361-7495 or go to 3dlearner.com/book now. We're interested in talking to a lot of parents at this point because we're trying to both adapt our present program and develop new programs for success by third grade. Love to talk to you.